All right, well, let's kick things off. Good morning, everyone, for practicing our conversation. Let's dive in. So I know last week we actually focused a little bit on the listing appointment itself. I want to ask everybody, I do have one thing I definitely want to go through with everyone this morning, in just some language patterns that we can use to really help set more appointments and get our foot in the door with people. But let me ask for those on the call today, or if anybody's in the room. I'm kind of looking here. I don't see anyone yet. I actually want to run through with everyone the basic order of a conversation itself. I'm actually going to share my screen. So here's what the basic order of a conversation is. I will tell you this, when we talk about a conversation with people, here's what tends to happen. Here's what most, or not most, but many agents do. Okay. And this is what I'm going to work with everybody on not to do. So a few things that agents do. One is, if you get, let's say, a call on your phone or a Facebook ad lead or something like that, where the person is specifically focused on a property. I want to sell my house and I want to go look at 123 Main Street. What you don't want to do is just solely focus on 123 Main Street. Say, great, let's set up a showing. Let's get that moving. You need to take them, you still need to take them through the order of the conversation. Motivation, qualifications, next steps, the process, walking to the next step, which for them would be, again, this is listing appointment. So it would be setting that listing appointment. And we could also be setting a showing for 123 Main Street at the same time. Let me ask everybody on here, why do we not want to just pop up and show them a house?
Well, I guess we're not adding anything of value. Just, kind of like anyone, really any real estate agent can just make an appointment and take them there. So I guess the whole thing is to add value to what we bring to the table.
100%. That I couldn't have said it better. You're adding value to what you bring to the table. Anybody can just simply set an appointment, anybody can schedule a showing and anybody can open a door with Central Lock, right? What value are you bringing? And how are you showing that you care about them? And not to mention, most people, when they go see a house, the first thing they do is, and we are going to switch this into listings in just a second, but the first thing they do is they look online, right? So they sit at home, they look online. So you have somebody who owns a house and they're looking to, let's say, get something bigger. So let's say you have a family, they're in a townhouse and they are growing. They have people moving in and now they need something with more space. So they start playing online. They start looking at, Zillow and all those sites that we as real estate agents don't like. And they shop with their eyes first, right? Now they get excited about something they see that's bigger and this agent pops up and goes to show it to them. What is the likelihood, in all of your best guesses, what is the likelihood that that very first house they found online that you go show them is the house for them? Anyone want to take a guess on percentage?
I'm going to guess maybe 5%.
That's a good guess. Yeah, it's about 5%. I would say that it's somewhere between like 2 and 5%. 5 is being generous. The majority of the time it is not, right? Because pictures lie, you go in, they figure out it's not, the best house for them. Or maybe it happens to be, but they don't qualify for that amount, or there's multiple offers and they lose out on the house, right? So if we don't know their motivation, if we don't know what they want, if we don't know what the qualifications and the criteria they're looking for, then that person's simply going to look at us and go, all right, well, thanks so much. I think we'll put on hold for a little bit until we see something else we like, right? We have no fuel. We have nothing to keep us going as their agent. Now to switch gears and move this into a listing conversation, talking to a seller, why is it really important? So you get a seller on the phone. Why is it? And they're like, yep, you know what? I really want a free home evaluation. I want to see what my home is worth. We might be thinking about selling it. So again, you have an agent and they say, great, I'll work up a CMA, market analysis. I'll be by tonight at 5. I'll show you what that looks like and how much your house is. Or you have an agent email it to them. By the way, I'm going to say this, and this is probably the most important thing you're ever going to hear from me. Never, capital N, never email a market analysis to a homeowner. I don't even care if they're your relative. It could be your spouse. Never email a market analysis to a homeowner. Why am I saying that?
Well, if they have a relationship, or know of anybody in their circle that's, an agent, they can basically just like you all the work for them. It's, they can just say, hey, is this true? Is this what you think? And then, if they agree, then, can I work with you? Can you list my house?
Yeah. So they have another relationship with it. Everybody knows an agent, right? So they have another, they probably know somebody else. So they'll take what you emailed, give it to that person, have them list it. Another thing is that you haven't seen the house yet. So how can you properly price it? How can you have a pricing conversation if you personally have not walked through the house? You can't. You can do a CMA to get a range of similarities, but you don't know if their house is upgraded and on the higher range or, shag carpeting from the 1970s with like pink walls and, cracks everywhere, and it's on the low range. So what happens is if you email them this in that first conversation and they don't like what they're seeing, they will never call you back. Ever. You completely lost them. Right. So that is a huge never email it. Even if someone's like, hey, can you email it? No, I can't. I can absolutely swing by and provide it to you because I need to view your property to price it properly. So that's one thing I definitely wanted to make sure I stated, because I'm seeing more and more agents emailing them over. And as a coach, that's disheartening. So besides not emailing it over, why on the first phone call, we haven't met them yet. We haven't gone out and see the property. We're trying to get our foot in the door. Why do we need to find out their motivation first? Why do we still need to go through this basic order of a conversation before we go out to the appointment?
Well, I guess because if you know their motivations, then once you're meeting with them, you can kind of reiterate that, show that, you care, that you've listened. And, it just kind of helps prepare your conversation or how you're going to direct your, listing presentation.
Yeah, it absolutely. Absolutely. And I like how you say it kind of helps you direct that listing presentation, right? If we go out there and they're interviewing 2 other agents and we don't know why they're wanting to move, and we simply go out and say, hi, I'm Alana. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams Legacy, and I worked up a CMA. I'd love to tour your property. Here's what I think your price should be for the house, and here's how I do my marketing. Me. And what do you say we get this listed today? We get some paperwork done today and get this on the market. Why in the world would they choose you? Would you choose that agent? I wouldn't. I'm just gonna say that I wouldn't. Right. All right. So I want to demonstrate this. And George, you're on fire this morning with your answers. So if I could ask for a favor, if you're in a location that is okay with this, would you mind being playing the part of a seller right now?
Sure.
So you have a house you're thinking about selling, but you're not quite sure. Okay.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that you are just what we call a likely seller, meaning I came across your number. as a higher probability based on your equity you built up, how long you've been there, that you may be thinking about selling at some time.
Okay.
You never reached out to me. We've never talked.
Gotcha.
All right. Ring.
Hello, this is George.
Hey, George, this is Alana. I am a local real estate agent right nearby you with Keller Williams Legacy. First, thank you so much for taking my call. I am actually reaching out to both you and just a few of your neighbors who I've seen kind of, been in the neighborhood for a while and your home for a while, to see what your plans are and if you've ever thought about taking advantage of this market and seeing what your home is worth.
It's something that we're starting to think about and more seriously. The past couple of months. So yeah, I'm definitely interested.
Awesome. Now, I heard you say the word we. Who would be all involved in this decision?
Well, it's my wife and I and our two boys.
Wonderful. Do you mind me asking what your wife's name is?
Morgan.
Morgan. Get personal with them, by the way. Get personal. Find out these things. If they say the word we, who's the we? Because you're going to have to meet with both people. So let me ask you, you said you and Morgan are kind of just talking it over, thinking about selling. What has you thinking about selling?
Well, it seems to be a hot market right now. It seems like everybody's getting top dollar. And, if we'd be able to come at the high range and use some of that equity to, use as a down payment on a new house, I think now seems to be the time.
Awesome. And when it sells, where would you move to?
We'd probably stay local. We're in Carroll County, Westminster area. So, yeah, I'd be up for staying in the county, maybe not necessarily the city, but yeah, definitely Carroll County.
Okay. Now I heard you mention, and by the way, the reason I'm asking these questions, George, is just to get to know a little bit more so I can best help you.
Makes sense.
Okay. So you mentioned getting into a new home. Tell me about what that would look like for you and Morgan.
Well, right now we're in a two-story colonial style house, and I'd love to be able to have everything on one floor. At least like the main living area, master bedroom on one floor, maybe the secondary bedrooms on the second story. But I'd really like to have everything, one floor, and then maybe a basement, a walkout basement.
Okay. Do you mind me where you are now versus where you want to live? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? Would it be the same or different?
I'd like to keep it the same. Right now we have 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Ideally, it'd be nice in the next house if every bedroom had their own bathroom, but I guess that's kind of a dream. If we can't get that, then we'd be fine with just settling with single story.
Okay. Now I did write that down, right? Because obviously, helping you and Morgan and finding that new home, not only selling your home, but finding that new home. Obviously, those would be things we would definitely look for, right? But I like how you said it could be a dream. So, but I wrote that down because that sounds important to you. Now, you mentioned one floor instead of 2. So you're thinking like a rancher style?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I hope you don't mind me asking, why would that be important to the two of you?
Just as we get older, carrying laundry baskets and vacuum cleaners and carpet cleaners up and down the steps, it gets kind of old after a while. So having everything on one level, maybe being able, single level, have everything, higher vaulted ceilings, being able to take advantage of that would be, kind of ideal.
Absolutely. So right now, is it a whole lot of up and down with the 2 boys and the laundry baskets and just
A whole lot of up and down.
I would imagine. How old are the boys?
14 and 12.
Okay. I'm going to pause here for just a minute. George, you're playing excellent seller. I want to pause here and find out. Let me open this up to everyone on Zoom. Hopefully you're in a place that you can take yourself off of mute and respond. This is chime in here. What are you hearing from this? Why is this? But by the way, this conversation has now lasted 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes. I got a lot out of 3 minutes. What are you hearing? Why is all these things important?
Well, with the questions that you're asking, you're kind of having that person that you've never met before paint a picture, for you of what, their ideal next home would be, so that way, again, all of your conversations, you're reiterating what you've heard from them. And then, as you're doing a property search, you're pulling the right type and style of home for them.
Yes. So you use the words painting a picture. Not only are they painting a picture for you, the agent, but they're also saying these things out loud, probably for the first time, which means they're painting a picture for themselves as well. Right. And that's so important because that gets them even more excited. Now they're really seeing them not having to go up and down the stairs all the time. They're really seeing this new house. Right. Now I'm going to add in what I call the greatest 2 words you can add to any conversation. 2 words to put into every conversation, buyer or seller. So George, let me ask you, what else? Those are the 2 words right there. What else? What else is really important to you and Morgan about, selling this home you're in now and getting a new home?
Well, in our next home, if in-ground pool came along with the purchase, that would be great. We've kicked around the idea of doing a pool now, and then kind of knowing that maybe we'll be moving in the future. Do we want to spend that money now or put it into a new home purchase? So just outdoor activities, outdoor entertaining, the pool, patio, fire pit type of deal. If we all of that at one time, it'd be a dream come true.
Oh my God, that sounds like fun. Fire pit and everything. Okay, I'll bring the s'mores kit, George, if that's okay. So, okay, now we know. So here's the thing. When you ask those 2 words, what else, the person's going to dig deeper and give you something really important to them. Right? So those 2 words will give you more fuel. It's going to give you more ammo to go into that appointment and really be able to help them. Now we're going to move on to the next. The next is to pre-qualify. Now, as a buyer, that's easy. The pre-qualify is, how are you going to pay? Have you talked to a lender yet? Let's go, let me connect you with one of my lenders. They're going to call you today. As a seller, it's a little bit different. So as a seller, I'm going to say to George, so George, let me ask you, you mentioned using the sale of this house as a bigger down payment for your new home. Will you also need any financing?
Yes, we would be financing the difference.
Okay. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute. Now, here's the thing. Every agent works a little bit differently when it comes to this. So I'm going to share some best practices. You decide as the business owner that all of you are, what you prefer. For me, this is a seller. I want to get my foot in the door. I want this appointment. I want this listing. When I am out there in person, then I will provide them with lender information. I will talk to them about, Dan or Hunter or Patrick and say, hey, I'm going to have one of them call you to talk about pre-qualifying. So I want to do that in person. The reason why I'm not doing it over the phone right now or saying to them, great, let me get you connected with a lender now, is because this is a listing appointment. Gotcha. This, first and foremost, this is a listing appointment, not a buyer appointment. When you're out there, you can talk more about what they want to buy and you can start setting up customized searches and you can get a 2 start showing them houses, right? But step 1, this is get your foot in the door, get the listing. So pre-qualifying for a listing is asking them when they buy, well, do they think they also need financing? It's also asking them another question. Now, this is a question you can either ask over the phone. You can look it up through Brighter MLS. It's not always accurate. I do like to ask this question, or if you don't feel you have a strong enough relationship yet, you can ask this in person at the appointment. All of them work. And that's asking, so George, it sounds like you and Morgan really want to see what your home is worth to net top dollar in the seller's market that we're still in, and take that money, right, that you'll get from the sale of the house, to combine that with some financing to purchase your new home with that pool and the one floor, no more stairs, right? Let me ask you, just so I can really work up the most accurate market analysis for your home and provide you with more details, money-wise, that sounds important to you as well, about how much do you think you owe on your home? Do you know?
We owe approximately $480.
Okay. Now here's the thing. I haven't worked up CMA. I don't know what this home was worth. I'm literally just writing down a number. Right? I'm writing down a number. Why would it be beneficial to know how much they owe on the house prior to going on the appointment?
Well, I guess in my case, since equity is so important as the down payment, then you can kind of go in like, hey, great news. Based on the market analysis, I see, the equity you have to put down could be in the range of, X, this and this. You're kind of getting pumped up already.
Yeah, exactly. So if that equity and using that as a bigger down payment is so important to this person, then obviously they have already probably thought about, wow, we've built up some equity. Let's see what we can get out of it. Right. Now, if you're coming in for the listing appointment and that's important to them, you can bring with you not only the market analysis, that CMA, but you can also bring what's called a net sheet. Right. Brighter MLS does have a net sheet calculator. You can also talk to like a title company, different people to help you work up on that net sheet. Some agents bring them, some agents don't. But if somebody really wants to get equity out of their house, and that sheet's nice because it shows them a example. It is not black and white. Okay. And every net sheet has a little disclaimer saying, this is not 100% accurate. Because obviously there's closing costs, there's different fees, all of that fun stuff. Okay. So the qualification part of the conversation, we found out their motivation. Why are they selling? What's important to them? Why are they thinking about it? We found out who's all involved, right? We then found out how are they looking to pay for their next house, but we're not talking about lenders right now because this is the listing appointment. We found out how much they think they owe in their house, which, by the way, some people know, some people don't know. And that's fine too, because as agents, we have access. We can actually look it up. Now we use what's called the transitional phrase. George, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So I'm going to summarize and then transition you. So George, it sounds like you and Morgan have had some discussions about taking advantage of this market that we're in right now, which may or may not change, right? It is truly still a seller's market. Getting into that, still staying in Carroll County, but getting into that rancher, getting out of all those stairs that going up and down with the boys, right? With that laundry every day, having the one floor, having more space, hopefully having that pool and everything out back. That's of course what we would, do some searches for, right? And using some of that equity you have built up to make a bigger down payment on that new home. Do I have all that correct?
Boy, that's exactly what I had in mind. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, listen, the next step is, that's your transition phrase. The next step is for me to come out, introduce myself, share with you a market analysis on your home. I'll work one of those up today and get that all prepared for you. How I market homes to get them sold for top dollar, especially in this market we're in. And I'll also do some searches online, and I'll print out some homes that match kind of what you mentioned that you guys might want to see. And I'll print those out and bring those with me as well. So we can kind of sit down and look to see if those match up and align with to set up some showings as well. So I'm looking at my calendar right now. Now, notice I did not pause. I'm looking at my calendar right now, and I see that I have today, always try to get something within 24 hours max. I see that I have today at 4:30 and I have tomorrow at 11 a.m. Which one works best for both you and Morgan? Because you both need to be there.
Tomorrow at 11, we could definitely make that work.
Perfect. Now, okay, pause for a minute. Let's pretend that George came back and said neither. So George, tell me that.
Kind of short notice. I don't think we can make any of those work.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you letting me know that. Let me ask you, what is kind of your work schedule, Morgan's work schedule? When are both of you typically home in the day?
Well, we're both Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But we have some flexibility during the day if we know a couple days in advance.
Okay. So 9 to 5, is it safe to say you're home probably closer around 5:30?
Yes.
Okay. Let me take a quick look at my calendar. I do have tomorrow night at 5:45. How does that work for the two of you?
That 5:45. That's perfect. We can definitely make that work.
Okay. So notice how I didn't push it out further.
Gotcha. That's a good tip.
So here's the thing, when you assign a deadline is the next step, right? So if you're setting an appointment for a listing appointment, the next step is going out to meet with them. So the next step is, I'm going to come out, all parties need to be available, and then you provide them with two options. The reason you provide someone with two options is because most people are not decision makers by nature. So if you give them more options, or if you leave it open to them, they'll be like, oh, you know what, let me talk to my wife, or, let me think about it, or give me a call back, because they can't process what you just asked them. But if you say to somebody, I'm looking at my calendar, which, by the way, the calendar word means commitment. So when you say calendar, it means you're an important person, you are busy, and people want to work with busy people. People want to work with those people who are important. Also, it lets you control your schedule. Okay, so they're not walking all over you. So when you say, let me look at my calendar, I have this time and this time, which one works best? And then pause and let them choose one. And if they come back and they don't choose one, find out their work schedules, because it's probably about that. And then give them one more option. They'll say yes. Unless they're out of town or on vacation, and then that's, obviously different. Okay, so we literally ran through motivation, qualifications, setting the deadline, getting the appointment. George, thank you so much for playing an amazing seller today.
Oh, no problem.
You made it way too easy. Next time we got to make this harder. Phone calls aren't this easy. So what's one thing you got from this?
I took away with how easy you were able to find out that it wasn't just me, that there was a spouse involved, and the family, because that's something that the few opportunities I've had to talk to people, that's, looking back, it's like I didn't do that, and what a big mistake that was. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad you noticed that. And I do want to point out, the verbiage that I used was, hey, who's all involved in the move? That's the best sentence you can use, because you don't want to make assumptions. You don't want to assume that a person's married. You don't want to assume it's husband, wife, husband, husband. You don't want to assume there's kids. You do not want to assume anything, because you could be offending somebody. Or I had a horrible scenario, and this is actually where I changed up the verbiage. I used to say, oh my God, any kids? Right. And I had a horrible phone call with somebody who just started bawling, like they just started crying on the phone because something horrible happened in their family. I'm not going to get into it. And from that day forward, I was like, okay, never mention the word kid again, unless they bring it up.
Right.
So now it's just who's all involved. Yeah. Never make assumptions. I'm glad that you picked up on that. All right, we are out of time. Please go put this into now real play, meaning make some phone calls, talk to some people, have conversations. You should be having at least 10 good conversations today. If you want to hit your goals, go talk to at least 10 people today about real estate. And if you need anything, please reach out.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.